So today we're going to tackle a massive question in geopolitics, but we're going to look at it from a really specific and honestly pretty surprising angle. Why is Taiwan's east coast considered pretty much impossible to invade? Turns out it's a story where geology is destiny.
Okay, when you hear invasion of Taiwan, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, right, it's this image of a gigantic amphibious assault, thousands of ships pouring across the Taiwan Strait, hitting sandy beaches.
But what if that picture we all have in our minds is only half the story? What if one whole side of the island basically just says nope to an invasion, not because of its army, but because of the actual rock it's made of?
All right, let's dive in. Here's the game plan for how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the big picture strategy, the invasion calculus. Then we'll get into the geography with a tale of two coasts, drill down into Taiwan's wall of stone and see how that creates the fatal funnel. Finally, we'll ask, is it an unbreachable fortress?
So first thing you have to understand is that a full-scale invasion is just one of Beijing's options for Taiwan. And according to military strategists, it's actually the riskiest one. It's the last resort.
Beijing has what analysts call the three roads. The first road is persuasion, using economic leverage, diplomatic ties. The second is coercion. Think big military drills in the strait, a lot of political pressure, basically trying to wear Taiwan down. It's only if those two fail that the third road, compellence, really comes into play.
And compellence? That's where our story really kicks off. This is the direct use of force. But the risks for Beijing are absolutely enormous. Not just military, but politically, economically, you name it. An invasion isn't just an attack, it's a massive, world-changing gamble.
And this map really shows you the insane scale of planning we're talking about. See, an invasion isn't just about getting troops across the water. China's entire strategy hinges on creating this giant no-go zone, what the military calls an anti-access/area denial bubble, or A2AD for short. The whole point is to keep other countries, like the United States, from being able to jump in and help. The complexity is just staggering.
So let's get to the heart of it. Let's look at how Taiwan's geography creates two totally different strategic problems. Because not all coastlines are the same, and in Taiwan, the difference is literally night and day.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. The west coast, the one facing China, is part of the Eurasian continental shelf. The water's shallow, the land slopes gently, it's pretty much ideal for a massive landing. But the east coast? Whoa! That's where the deep oceanic Philippine Sea plate is literally crashing into the continent. The ocean floor just plummets thousands of meters deep, and the coast doesn't slope, it soars.
Okay, so let's zoom in on that east coast, because this is where you see how this incredible geography creates an almost perfect natural defense. It's not really a coastline, it's more like a fortress wall built by Mother Nature herself over millions of years.
You see, the absolute number one rule of any amphibious invasion is you have to establish a beachhead. It's a secure spot on the shore where you can land your troops and all your gear. Well, along huge stretches of Taiwan's east coast, especially at the famous King Shui Cliffs, that's just not possible. The idea of a beach doesn't even exist there.
I mean, think about this. For 21 kilometers, that's over 13 miles, the coastline is just one single, uninterrupted wall of solid rock. There is physically no place for an invasion force to land, to organize, or to push inland.
And we're not talking about some picturesque seaside bluffs. These things rise on average 800 meters. That's over 2,600 feet, straight out of the Pacific. To put that in perspective, that's like trying to assault a wall twice as tall as the Empire State Building. This quote from a military analysis just nails it. An invading force wouldn't be fighting an army. They'd be fighting the planet. You'd be pinned against a vertical wall with nowhere to go, totally exposed to defenders firing down from above. It would be a shooting gallery, a complete tactical nightmare. But okay, let's just say against all odds, some small force manages to land somewhere. Well, the cliffs are just the beginning. Right behind them is an even bigger problem, the Central Mountain Range, what some people call Taiwan's guardian spine.
And look, this isn't just a bunch of rolling hills. This is a seriously rugged, alpine mountain range that covers more than half the island. The tallest peak, Yushan, is almost 4,000 meters high. Trying to move a modern mechanized army through that terrain, it's basically impossible.
All right, so let's play this out. What if an invader did manage to grab one of the few small harbors on the coast? Now the problem completely changes. It's not about landing troops anymore, it's about supplying them. They can't go over the mountains, so they have to use the one road that goes around them.
And that road is the Suhua Highway. It is the one and only major supply line on the entire East Coast. It's a narrow road literally carved into the side of the Kingshui Cliffs. Now, recent upgrades have made it safer for tourists by adding miles and miles of long tunnels. But for an army, those tunnels aren't safe havens. They're traps.
This is what military planners call a fatal funnel. A defending force doesn't have to fight head-on. It's simple. Step 1, a single missile strike collapses a tunnel entrance. Step 2, the entire armored column is now stuck inside a concrete tube. And Step 3, the defenders, from miles away, can just rain down artillery and missiles, what's known as indirect fire, and annihilate the trapped enemy. It's a kill box by design.
So let's just pull all of this together and look at the final picture. What we're seeing isn't just one obstacle. It's layers upon layers of natural defenses that all work together to make the problem worse and worse for an attacker.
When you stack it all up, it's incredible. The deep sea makes the naval approach hard from the get-go. The vertical cliffs make landings impossible. The towering mountains behind them make any inland movement a non-starter. And the only road available creates logistical death traps. It really is a fortress made by nature, and it completely changes how you have to think about an invasion.
And that leaves us with one last really fascinating question. We live in an age of long-range missiles, of cyber attacks, of warfare in space, but as the east coast of Taiwan proves, sometimes the most effective defense is still just thousands of feet of solid rock. So how much does old-fashioned geography still matter?